With all of the recent changes to the Barbarian in D2R, this class has quickly risen to the top both in PvM and PvP. We found this out the hard way when we saw Synced take on Mr. Llama SC in the Diablo Fighting Championship. What was once an underrated character in D2R took out the most powerful class piloted by the GOAT himself. But this hybrid Barb is even a savage in PvM. In this video, I've got a ton of different beastly Barbarian builds for you. All I ask for all this hard work is that you hit that like button and subscribe for Christ's sake. Let's check this guy out. Before we get into it, Dungeon Fighter Online was kind enough to sponsor this video. They appreciate all the PvP content that we do here, so make sure to check them out and let them know that you appreciate them too. Dungeon Fighter Online is a free-to-play multiplayer hack-and-slash game with 16 unique characters for you to choose from. This 2D MMORPG speaks to the 90s kid in my heart. Look at these retro pixel graphics. DFO has updates and events every 2 weeks to provide exciting new content, including a new highest level that can be reached, level 110. With this new max level increase, the storyline progresses and new areas and dungeons are revealed, which means loads of new content for new and returning players. If you're lazy like me, there's an event going on right now where you can power level your character to level 100. Then you can team up with veteran players that'll teach you the ropes and help you earn some insane gear. I've even got a special promo code for you to use in-game. Just type "Welcome to DFO Gift" to grab yourself 10 life tokens, 50 Remy sparkling touches, and a funky avatar set. Make sure to click the link down in the description to download and try the game, and then come back here and let me know what you think. While you do that, let's check out this top-tier Barbarian. There's a lot of hype surrounding the Zerker Barbarian since its synergies were changed in the recent patch to be more efficient. I almost think there's too much hype around this build. Many build guides out there suggest fully committing to this skill, and while it hits like an absolute Mack truck when you do so, Berserk also has some pretty significant drawbacks. Aside from reducing your defense to 0, Berserk converts all of your physical damage to magic damage. While this is amazing against targets with high physical resistance, it also makes it so things like Life Leech and Mana Leech don't work when you hit an enemy. There might actually be a better way to build this big rig of a beast. You can obtain pretty comparable damage and still reap the benefits of Leech and many other attributes from a second weapon if you make this a Whirlwind hybrid. Not only is Whirlwind far better at killing bosses than Berserk, but it also provides an opportunity to heal quickly in the heat of battle. Let me show you how we built the PvM version first, and if you're the type of player that likes to level your PvP character in pub games, mainly because they have higher player counts, this is a phenomenal way to set up your build for that as well. A lot of players like the magic find, and many of my PvM builds do not prioritize this. But I do have a version of this that I've listed down in the description that pushes 600 MF just about, all while maintaining pretty vicious hybrid damage. Well, let's check out the skills first on this hybrid Barb. Thanks to the new synergies of Berserk, we can start off by being super efficient. We put 20 hard points into Berserk as that's one of our main skills. The other main skill is Whirlwind, and we also max that. The synergy on Berserk was switched from Shout to Battle Orders, which is extremely convenient because we're going to be maxing that skill anyway. Since this is a PvM version, I do put 1 point into Find Item. We put 1 point into these 1-point wonders right here, but after we max Axe Mastery, we're going to have a few skills left over in this PvM version, and with those, we dump them into Howl because it is the second synergy for Berserk. On a perfect build with your skill points, you actually won't need to put anything into Strength. With this version in particular, because of the items that I wear, I did have to put a few points here, and same with Dexterity. But in an ideal world, you would actually just shift-click all of your points into Vitality on this build and have the biggest possible life pool you can have. There's two big breakpoints that you're going to want to aim for with just about any setup that you use. I like to hit the 38% faster cast breakpoint with the option to swap to dual Hodos and hit 105. The other breakpoint you're going to want to pay attention to is the 9-frame breakpoint for Berserk. To achieve that in the PvM version, which we'll look at first, basically all you need is 35% IAS somewhere on your build. I'll let you know, I tested so many weapons for this PvM version to see the highest damage output and how to clear areas fastest. There's just no better main hand weapon than Grief. So we have Grief Berserker Axe on the main hand, and on the offhand, we have Last Wish. This weapon is insanely good. The survivability with the % chance to cast Fade when struck is phenomenal in PVM. It also gives us that level 17 Might aura, which is nuts. And when you find yourself whirlwinding bosses, the crushing blow that exists on this weapon is also pretty insane. It's also got a little bit of a magic find bonus on there for you magic find buffs. Next up, we'll look at the helm. We have an Ariat's face with a Cham rune in it. This has Life Leech, which is pretty sweet on this build when you need to whirlwind in a mob of monsters to regain some of your life. Additionally, what you'll see with a lot of these items is plus to strength. It's actually not a bad attribute to have on a barbarian. Basically, what it breaks down to is for every 1 point of strength, whether you put it in as a hard point or you get it from items, equates to about 1% enhanced damage on your barbarian. It's also got that 30% faster hit recovery, a bonus to attack rating, and all resistance is plus 30. We've slammed a Cham rune in this, and that is our source of cannot be frozen. Definitely don't want to be frozen on a hybrid Zerker barb. We crank up our deadly strike quite a bit with High Lord's Wrath. The boots are Gore Riders for crushing blow, deadly strike, and open wounds. We have Enigma so that we can quickly get to the areas that we're trying to clear. First ring is a 10% cast, bonus to attack rating, huge boost to strength, light res, and life leech. The other ring has cast, min damage, strength, mana, and some resistances. And then to cap off the 40% FCR, we do have Arachnid Mesh. It's kind of cool with all of the strength bonuses on all of these items. It allows us to get pretty greedy with our gloves, so we can actually use Steel Rend, which gives a big boost to enhanced damage, crushing blow, and strength. A lot of people screw up the charms in the inventory of a Zerker barb or a Whirlwind barb. Basically, there's no exceptions. You want to put as many max AR lifer charms in your inventory as you can fit. This goes for your small charms as well. And then, of course, you want to find the best Annihilus and Barb Torch that you can. On the swap, I have 2 Heart of the Oak. This actually pushes us above the 105% faster cast rate breakpoint, which if you're teleporting to Chaos or the Throne Room just gets you there a lot faster while boosting up your resistances quite a bit too. But a very important piece of this PVM version of this barb is the Mercenary. Our Mercenary uses Faith Shadow Bow for that Fanaticism aura. You actually don't need this to roll perfectly. A level 12 Fanaticism aura is good enough with 35% IAS on the rest of your build. These other items, you kind of have a lot of leeway, but I chose damage on this girl with Fortitude and Indariel's Visage. But it's actually most important that your Mercenary stays alive, so you have a lot of options here. The AI on an Act 1 Merc is a lot smarter than many of the other Mercenary variants. Basically, what it will do is stay out of the heat of battle, which is really good, especially if you're trying to plow through P8 games on BattleNet. Your Mercenary just ends up surviving and kind of not getting caught in the heat of things. That's the PVM version, and now let me swap out some items and show you what we do for PvP. For the PvP version, Grief on the main hand and Beast on the offhand is the most typical setup and what you'll probably use for most matchups. But there is a glitch in the current patch that favors having an item like Death at your disposal. If you're wearing an item in your main hand that has Crushing Blow and Deadly Strike, those attributes are applied twice with Whirlwind. This can be useful in situations where you only want to Whirlwind, such as against Druids or Zons, because you can swap out all of your other gear containing those attributes for more useful things. Be sure to check the link down in the description for the Death Whirl build for PvP. There, I highlighted some other options that open up with this setup. If Blizzard patches this glitch and you're going up against a Druid, it's handy to have a Breath of the Dying Berserker Axe kicking around too. The Life Leech on this, combined with the new increased life on all of their wolves, increases your survivability quite a bit in that matchup. And then also it helps to have a double-bared COA kicking around in your stash for those physical damage matchups. Additionally, even a Verdungos. And as you know, T-Gods can be really good against lightning-based characters. On the main character, we swap out the helm for a 222 open socket. I put 2 15% IAS ED jewels in this, but again, a better option is probably Cham Bear or Cham Low, or even ED strength jewels to boost your damage up significantly. And we actually swapped to Trang's gloves in this setup as well to hit the 63% faster cast rate breakpoint. These 3 items combined with a nice BVC ring should get you to that breakpoint pretty easily. From there, you just combine that with your favorite Oak Sage granting ring on the other side. And of course, probably deck out your inventory with more of these charms. PVM noob. The resistances here are pretty shit, so you're gonna wanna have some swaps such as boots or rings in your stash, but just make sure to check the links in the description because I've outlined all of that stuff and the sort of best in slot gear that you can have for PvP. On your PVM version though, the resistances are a little more reasonable, but once you proc Fade, you don't have to worry about resistances at all. When you're going around leveling or MFing in pub games with this, I would suggest Chaos in players 7 or 8. The strategy here is to do a quick Chaos. Hit the seal, howl to keep the unimportant monsters off of you, then Zerk the seal bosses. From there, you can quickly hork the corpses for additional loot and move on to the next. When you're going against bosses, you want to Whirlwind at first and let Last Wish Crushing Blow do its thing, then Zerk to finish them off. Whirlwind is also a good strategy in the throne room. It helps you heal back life, but also addresses all the monsters at once, because you can't just howl them away and skip them. In PvP, you'll want to master chain zerking. This is basically where you chain lock your opponent, but with Berserk. We put out a video on how to do that a while back, and I'll link you to that if you need a refresher. Opportunistic whirlwinds are also useful. You'll just want to practice and teach yourself when to use this strategy. You can even do what Stadium PK did in the DFC and build yourself a Necro Killer Barb, which I've also linked down in the description. It's a very interesting chain zerker that utilizes the 105% FCR breakpoint. Very cool. With a lot more people choosing the Barbarian in PvP these days, it's really good to revisit this build and check in on the new best in slot items and best in slot skill point attributions. How do you build your Barbarians? Let me know down in the comments and feel free to join up on the PvP events that we put on each week.